The rain came down in relentless sheets, a merciless drumming against the roof of the car. It was the kind of night where the world shrinks to just what your headlights can find. And for Emma, that wasn't much. Exhausted, her eyes gritty and bloodshot, she gripped the steering wheel with trembling hands. The radio, her only companion, crackled with static before a voice managed to cut through. Storm warning in effect. Roads may be impassable. Seek shelter immediately. Then, silence. Just the roar of the rain and the thump of her own heart. Ahead, a light flickered, a beacon in the oppressive dark. A neon sign, buzzing and unstable, announced Morrow's Rest motel vacancy. One of the letters sparked, briefly lighting up the dense, dark forest that loomed just behind it. Emma hesitated. Every instinct screamed to keep driving, but where to? With a sharp, resigned breath, she turned the wheel, pulling into the desolate lot. The motel looked like a forgotten relic. 2 floors of cracked paint and windows that stared back like hollow, watchful eyes. No other carts. The only sound was the rain, dripping from the eaves, and a slow, steady rhythm like a countdown to something she didn't want to know. Emma stepped out, clutching her thin jacket against the cold, and made her way to the office. Inside, a layer of dust covered everything, except for a small, polished bell on the counter. She rang it. The sharp ding echoed into the silence. She waited. Nothing. She rang it again. A croaking voice drifted from a back room. No refunds after midnight. An old man emerged, teen and pale. His eyes were cloudy, yet they seemed to lock onto her with an unnerving alertness. "I just need a room for the night," Emma said, her voice barely a whisper. The old man stared at her, a long, uncomfortable silence stretching between them. "We only have one left," he finally rasped, sliding a rusted key across the counter. "Drum 6. As her fingers closed around the cold metal, Emma noticed something carved into the wooden counter, almost hidden by shadows. "Don't open the door again." She swallowed hard. What was that? The old man's lips pulled back into a smile that was far too wide, showing too many teeth. "Storm plays tricks on tired minds," he said, just as a loud clap of thunder shook the entire building, making her jump. Emma walked down the covered walkway, the rain misting her face. She passed rooms 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. The door to each one was slightly ajar, opening into pure, impenetrable darkness. An uneasy feeling crawled up her spine. As she reached the end of the walkway, approaching room 6, the door to room 5 suddenly slammed shut behind her. She spun around, her heart leaping into her throat. But there was nothing. No one. Just the rain and the creaking of the old motel. She fumbled with the key, finally getting the door to room 6 open. The air inside was thick with the smell of mildew and something else. Something metallic and coppery. The room was sparse. 1 bed, 1 chair, 1 large mirror on the wall opposite the bed. The light in the small, attached bathroom flickered erratically. Emma dropped her bag, exhaustion hitting her like a physical blow, and she collapsed onto the musty bed. The silence in the room was heavy, pressing in on her, and then it started. Knock. Knock. Emma froze, her body rigid. She glanced at her phone. The clock had just ticked over, 12:01 a.m. Another knock, slower this time, deliberate. Knock, knock. She crept toward the door, her breath held tight in her chest. "Hello," she called out. Silence. She took a deep breath and pulled the door open. The hallway was completely empty, but now all the other doors' rooms, 1 through 5, were shut tight. She quickly closed and locked her own door, her heart pounding a frantic rhythm against her ribs. Back in the room, Emma tried to force herself to relax, to sleep. She lay on the bed, staring up at the water-stained ceiling. Her eyes drifted to the mirror across the room. It reflected her, lying on the bed. But something was wrong. In the reflection, her eyes were wide open. Her reflection didn't blink when she did. Her blood ran cold. She sat up, staring intently. The reflection's mouth slowly, impossibly, curved into a wicked smile. Emma let out a strangled scream and whipped her head around to look away from the mirror. When she dared to look back, The mirror was normal again, reflecting only her own terrified face. Breathing hard, she scrambled off the bed, backing away toward the far wall. That's when she heard it. Click. The bathroom door, which she was certain had been closed, slowly creaked open. A chorus of whispers spilled out from the darkness within. Dozens of voices, overlapping, urgent, and terrifyingly close. "Don't let it see you," they hissed. "You stayed too long. It knows your name." With a cry, Emma threw her weight against the bathroom door, slamming it shut. Her hands shook as she fumbled for her phone. No signal, of course. But the screen lit up, a text message. From an unknown number. Her eyes widened as she read the words. "You shouldn't have come back." The phone slipped from her numb fingers, clattering to the floor. Suddenly, her mind was flooded with a memory, a vision she'd suppressed for years, a flashback. She was a child, standing in this very room, and behind her a towering shadow figure loomed, its form indistinct but its presence pure menace. A scream tore from her younger self's throat. Back in the present, Emma was hyperventilating. "No. No. No. No," she chanted, backing into a corner. The lights in the room began to flicker violently, struggling between light and dark. The old television set in the corner crackled to life, its screen filled with static. The static resolved into an image. It was the room. Her room. And then she watched in horror as she herself walked into the frame on the TV screen, standing exactly where she was standing now, staring at the television. On the screen, the bathroom door behind her began to open. A shape, dark and inhuman, stepped out behind her TV self. At that exact moment, she felt hot, foul breath on the back of her own neck. Emma spun around with a scream, but there was nothing there. She was alone. She looked back at the TV. The image had changed again. Now, it just showed the empty room. No her. No monster. As if she divined, then a final message burned itself onto the screen. Glowing letters against the static. "Room 6 never lets you leave." The knocking started again. Not from the hallway door. This time, the loud, insistent banging was coming from the inside of her own door. As dawn broke, the storm finally passed. Weak sunlight touched the decaying facade of Mora's Rest. Out front, the old man was calmly sweeping the walkway. A new car, different from Emma's, pulled into the lot. A young traveler looking tired and shivering from the morning chill stepped out. "Excuse me," he called to the old man. "Do you have a room?" The old man stopped sweeping, and that same wide smile spread across his face. "Just one left," he said, turning toward the office. He slid a familiar, rusted key across the counter. "Room 6. Inside room 6, the morning light revealed a space that was pristine. The bed was perfectly made. The mirror was clean and smudge-free. On the wall, so faint they were almost invisible, a series of fresh scratch marks spelled out a desperate warning. Dante opened the door again, and from the closed bathroom, a soft, slow sound could be heard. The sound of something breathing, waiting. A door creaks open. A scream cuts through the morning air. Then, silence. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you don't miss our next descent into the dark.